Okay, this is the second part of solving polynomial equations. So I'm going to skip all the way through until we get to the quadratic formula, just to review that with you real quick. Actually, I'm going to give you the answers to your assignment. So if you want to go and check what you already did for your assignment, here are the answers for all of the problems you just completed on page 324. So check these real quick. Pause this if you need to until you get your paper out. All right, so go on down and check all these here real quick. All right, as you can see, most of them had real roots, or they were all real, but most of them were integers until you get to number 6, and I think we just kind of go and round it to like the 0.5. All right, and then let me go on over to 12, 13, and 14. So when you did SOAP, you had to find your cube root of each part, and then again you did SOAP. So when you were factoring a difference of cubes or a sum of cubes, these are the answers for that. All right, let's go on and talk about some quadratic formula problems. So here's your quadratic formula. We're going to solve this by using the quadratic formula. So go ahead and write this down, and I am going to scroll until I can see the whole problem here. Actually, let me leave that quadratic formula up there for you for a minute. Hit pause and get to the quadratic and write that down. Okay, so in order to do the quadratic formula, we have to put it in standard form, which means everybody needs to be either on the left or the right. I don't know why this is not writing for me. Okay, now it's working. Sorry about that. So you want to get everybody over here on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. Sorry. Subtract 28 from both sides, so you're going to have a negative 28 here. And now we're going to label our A, our B, and our C. And you get 1 for A, negative 3 for B, and negative 28 for C. So let's go through and use the quadratic formula. Now, I like to find B squared minus 4AC just to start with. All right, so B squared is going to be negative 3 all squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 28. All right, so that becomes a 9. And then we're going to just go, and I like to just take that negative 4 and throw it in there with the 4, the negative sign. So negative 4 times 1 times negative 28 is positive 112. All right, so now you're going to go and add those together so you get 121. Yay, that's a perfect square. All right, let's throw this into the quadratic formula. So we've got the opposite of B. Well, what is the opposite of B? Well, B is negative 3, so the opposite of B is going to be positive 3. Positive 3 plus or minus square root of, now B squared minus 4AC is 121, all over 2A. So 2 times 1 is 2. All right, so x is equal to 3 plus or minus, now this turns into an 11 all over 2. All right, let's go and find this. So we've got x is equal to 3 plus 11. 3 plus 11 is 14 over 2, which is 7. And x is also equal to 3 minus 11, which is negative 8 over 2, which is negative 4. All right, you could have graphed that, but I just wanted to give you something that was kind of easy to look at for the quadratic formula. So let's go switch over to when we have imaginary. All right, this one's going to give us an imaginary root. This would be one where you would have to find the roots. You know how you have something that goes like this, and you have to find those imaginary roots. Remember, this is a cubic, and you only have one real, so you'd have to go find the other imaginary roots. So we're going to go and find that real quick. So we have our A is 1, our B is negative 4, and our C is 16. So 1, negative 4, and 16. I'm going to go find B squared minus 4AC. Go ahead and hit pause if you need to work that out. All right, negative 4 squared. All right. All right, that's going to turn out to be 16 minus 64, which, let's see what we, all right, so we get negative 48. So now let's throw this into the quadratic formula. The opposite of b is 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 48 all over 2a, which is 2. All right, so now let's go simplify our square root of negative 48. What's the largest square that goes into 48? Well, we've got 1. 4 goes in, but I think something bigger goes in. It looks like it could be 16. So we're going to do 4 plus or minus the square root of, let's make the 16 negative. Okay, and then that's 3 all over 2. Because 16 times 3 is 48. All right, so we got 4 plus or minus. Now, square root of negative 16 is 4i, square root of 3, all over 2. So let's simplify this. We've got x is equal to 4 plus 4i, square root of 3, all over 2. Oh, let's simplify this. Oh, my. Look at that. We could change this. Remember, all of the numbers that are not under the radical can be written in lowest terms. So look at that. That can all be divided by 2. So that's 2 plus or minus 2i square root of 3. Now you can leave it like that, okay? Just as long as you know that that means 2 plus 2i square root of 3, and then its conjugate is 2 minus 2i square root of 3. All right, so you saw that. That would be one of those quadratics that you wouldn't be able to see the roots. So like if it were graphed, it would look something like that. Okay, so you'd have to use a quadratic formula. Let's go find one that's a little bit more challenging. All right, here's a challenge problem. We're going to solve y cubed minus, or y equals x cubed minus 8. Let's go and work this out real quick. Now this is a cubic. If you graph it, which I suggest graphing, okay? I suggest you graph it and see what that looks like. All right, so it has a root right here, a real root at 3, okay? So we can use synthetic division or we can factor using SOAP to find the other root, all right? So we know that one of the roots is 3. All right, so let's do it that way. Let's use synthetic division to find our other. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's factor using SOAP. All right, we are going to go and we know that the very first factor is going to be x minus 3 because that's the cube root of each thing. No, it's not. It's going to be x minus 2, so sorry. And that's a 2 also over here. All right. I keep touching the eraser by mistake. That's a 2. All right, so now we're going to go and solve this. We're going to square this. We get x squared. We're going to multiply these, and we get 2x. And we're going to square that, and we get 4. All right, so now we're going to go and use SOAP. So we want the same sign, the opposite sign, and it's always positive. So one of our solutions is 2, which we know that. We saw that right here, okay? So now we've got to use the quadratic formula to find the solution to this one. All right, so because this can't be factored, you can't see it, so let's go and use the quadratic formula to solve this part right here. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 4. All right, and so we're going to go the B squared minus 4AC, plug that in, and we get 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4. I think I'm doing that right. 4 minus 16 is negative 12. All right, so throw this in the quadratic formula. So the opposite of b is negative 2 plus or minus square root of negative 12 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. All right, well, let's simplify the square root of negative 12. Perfect square that goes in is negative 4 times 3. So we've got negative 2 plus or minus square root of negative 4 times square root of 3 all over 2. Keep going. Almost done. Negative 2 plus or minus 2i square root of 3 all over 2. All of these guys can be reduced. So we got to drop down here. We got negative 1 plus or minus I square root of 3. All of those divided by 2. All right, those are your other two roots right there. So to find all the roots, remember one of them was 2, and the other ones are -1 plus or minus I square root of 3. Remember, you got to have 3 roots. Here's 1, and here's 2 more, and they were imaginary. All right, so your assignment is going to be to graph these, okay? And if you can't graph it, you're going to have to use the quadratic formula to find it, all right? And then I've got a challenge problem for you to do if you want to do that. That might be a good extra credit problem to do. So really, today is just these last 2 problems. You'll probably have to do them for homework, and they are also on a file on Google Classroom. All right, have a great day.